to see Jeff Buckley live once.
Oh yeah, what was that like?
Well, my friends and I, we were sneaking into the wetlands, which was in Lower Manhattan. We were like 15, driving into the city without licenses, and we were
Of course.
going there because every Tuesday was like a Grateful Dead night, and it was free. But in this case, it was a $12 cover, which at the time was outrageous. So, but we're like, hey, we drove all the way here from the suburbs. Let's go. And it was Jeff Buckley, and we were just floored because he was just, nobody could. I mean, we've never heard anybody sing quite like that. It was, and like I said, I come from this world of Led Zeppelin. To hear somebody with that kind of range and intensity and just the interesting songwriting and the wild guitar playing, it was just really just kind of a magical thing. So from
Let's take a spin.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Let's Take a Spin. As always, I'm your host, Rob Tait. So glad that you're back. Thank you for everybody for checking out the Q&A last episode. It's really fun to kind of release that information and really talk about the record. It's really great. Anyway, we have a fabulous guest today. Someone who I'm not very well connected with, but I love their music. It's Donny from Mirrors on the Moon, and Donny Dykoswsky from Mirrors on the Moon. And we had a great conversation. I'm so glad he came on the pod, and we really discussed a lot of music today, which is always a joy in this podcast. We get stuck in the minutia of, how to put out a record and, just the business side of things. But it's a lot of fun just to talk about great music and stuff we connect on, especially because Donny and I, at least in this band of his and my music, we're on the same plane in terms of genre, and I just love his new music. He has 2 great singles called Wild Love and California. They're out now on all streaming services, and you guys should absolutely check that out. There's a new music video for Wild Love, and Donny's actually going to be touring a little bit, doing some of his solo work. He's going to be playing solo acoustic in Wayne at the 118 North, and then he'll be at the R-Bar in Asbury Park. And he's a great guy, great tunes, and his band's great, and I have nothing but nice things to say. But real quick, we did just announce New Year's Eve, Chill AF New Year's Eve at Fat Lady Brewing Company with Rob Tait Band and Emmett Druding and Sophie Korn. It's going to be a great night of live music. You can find the details in the show notes, and it's going to be a great time. That's the last time you'll see the Rob Tait Band in Philly for a little while. We had the release show in Wayne, and this is actually going to be in Philadelphia, so we're super excited about that. And then on November 22nd, we're bringing the whole band to New Hope to play Dharma Bums with our friends Elephant the Band, and it's the first time in New Hope. Really looking forward to it. Going to debut some new songs, and oh my God, I'm just excited for the future. But anyway, this is a great podcast episode, and I hope you truly enjoy it. This is Donny from the band Mirrors on the Moon. Check it out. Donny, thank you so much for being on Let's Take a Spin today. I really appreciate it.
I love your theme music.
Oh, you do?
I do.
I appreciate it. We were originally like a playlist podcast, like the Music and Talk function on Spotify, and then they decided, we're going to take that away, and we were like, crap. So we decided to do a fully fledged interview format, and they were like, you need a theme song.
No,
very kind of you.
It's charming. So much of what I do is helping like brands find their sonic identity. Yeah, I mean, I think the secret sauce to anything working is just consistency over time. And I think yours is super fun. I mean, it doesn't have to be perfect. It tells you everything you need to know. It's charming. I like it.
Now, charming can be taken as lo-fi. I'm just kidding.
I mean, I think charming, it's inviting.
That's good. You're very sweet. I appreciate you. Is that me or you?
That's me. Sorry about that.
Oh, you're fine.
Dude, it's something else that in the course of just, hey, we're having a hang, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you played with first of all, your stuff's great. I took a dive into your Spotify canon, if you will, and I also saw that you played with Brittany Ann Trambaugh.
Trambaugh, yes. She's a good friend, and her main drummer, Adam Shumsky, is a really good friend, and he goes on tour every now and again to like Europe, and I think he's in Copenhagen or Amsterdam. But anyway, I got to play with Brittany at like Exponential Music Festival, and that was a lot of fun.
That's so cool. I tried to bring her into a campaign for just and a side note, just aside from Mirrors on the Moon, which is my band and totally passionate about that, and I know that's why we're talking, but my day job is making music for TV and film and helping brands tell stories through music and sound, things like that. I got into that business by making records and touring as a recording artist, and I just fell into it. And it's great because we flex a lot of the same muscles, hence why I appreciate your theme music. I think it's, like I said, I like it. But Brittany Ann, I stumbled upon her. I was doing a deep dive for like female Americana, and she came across my desk, and I really pushed hard to get her into this campaign for like, it was for a mountain resort out west that also had a festival, so that would have been a part of it. And yeah, so I was pitching her, and then when you had mentioned her, I'm like, wow, this is such a small world, such a small world.
Yeah, we're all connected, right?
Yeah.
On some level, we just don't know it yet.
Yeah, and Philly too. Like, I was in a band many years ago called Chester White, and I got that name because I had a shop teacher in high school that used to call you that as an insult. Like, you would call you which is a type of pig from Chester County, Pennsylvania.
Oh, got it.
But none of us knew that. I just liked the name. It was like Pink Floyd or Jethro Tull or Steely Dan. It just felt like kind of fun. So that became a band, and we had so much love in Philly. And now, again, like, I'm finding that there's a lot of love in Philly, and with this new band.
Right. With Chester White, where were you guys primarily playing when you were doing Philadelphia?
At the time, we did the Tin Angel. We did the Old Grape Street. We would do the Pontiac, PLA. Am I getting that right? Was that? So we just did a bunch of things, and we kind of linked up with Eric Bazillion from the Hooters at one point, and he just gave us his house as he was producing the Scorpions in
That's
Europe.
amazing.
And we recorded there for 2 weeks and mixed there, and it was really incredible.
Well, Dave's the man, but 2 weeks, that's wild. But a lot of those venues that you mentioned aren't really around, but the Grape Room is coming back, which was Grape Street. And there's also a few other places that have popped up probably since you've been around, like Fat Lady Brewing. The Khyber Pass is back open.
The Khyber Pass, we played that too. I mean, I think just by virtue of the music that you do, I feel like we should be billing together. There's this Americana, a little bit of jam to it. You got wonderful players on your record. It's
Thank you.
Yeah.
And you as well. And I
thanks.
especially love John, disciple of Bonham. Yeah.
Oh my God, he's incredible.
Well, one question I was going to ask, because I love your two new singles, Wild Love and California, and I just love John's playing, and he's definitely a disciple of Bonham. Do you think, well, what does he contribute to, like, the songwriting process when you make the demos, you bring them to the band? Do you tell him what to do, or you just go do your thing?
Well, I grew up on Zeppelin. Like, for me, there was a time in high school where if you didn't listen to Zeppelin, we really couldn't be friends. Like, that was the thing.
You ever dupe anybody with the joke of, hey, do you know the guy Led Zeppelin? Yeah, I know that guy.
I will now. It's so funny. Like, as when you're younger and you, like, hey, do you like Zeppelin? Oh yeah, I like him. Yeah, I really do. And like, or Pink Floyd. Oh yeah, he's good. Like,
and then they look it up later. It's like, oh no.
Yeah, and for the next 20 years, they're just like cringing at that conversation.
You know my guy Led. You know my guy Led.
No, but I've always chased that, I guess, pedigree of player is somebody that can capture the spirit of John Bonham. Even when I produce and build out my tracks before I bring in the band to like elevate what's there, everything's very Bonham-esque anyway. But there was a single our first single called Get Lost that we released last year. It's kind of garage rocky, and initially I wanted John to be playing just like with a sense of urgency, but when he came in, that wasn't clicking, and then I'm like, well, let's just play at halftime. Everything clicked, and it was just his voice on his instrument, and again, very Bonham-esque, and it just made the tune. But to answer your question, as far as the songwriting process, I'll basically have the songs mapped out when I bring them into the studio, and sure, we've probably played them or rehearsed them before, but best idea wins. So if he has some, if he's bringing things new to the table, I will 100%, put them in the record.
That's a sign of a good leader. If your guys are bringing in like good ideas, you're like, I don't care if it's my idea or your idea, whatever makes the best record we could possibly make.
100%. I mean, I think that goes for just art across, or collaborating across the board in any discipline that I'm a part of. Like, I've wasted too much time letting my ego get in the way and not being objective. And what's made me better is like, over the years producing for other artists or producing for for TV. Like you can't really throw your ego all over it. You got to just, service the gig as best you can. And for this, like, what's best for the song? And maybe what's best for the song isn't like a 6-minute guitar solo, like Whiskey and Wine. I don't know if you've really heard all our stuff, but we have a track, Whiskey and Wine, which is now under 4 minutes, thanks to a publicist who was like, you're not going to get any radio play if it's over 4 minutes. But that song was nearly 8 minutes because it had a huge jam in it. And I was so precious about it. I'm like, nobody else is going to, because I love the Dead. And I'm like, this is kind of like, it's got a lot of elements of just improvising on the edge of a knife, which I think is so endearing, but maybe not to everybody. So save that for the live show. So
it's a very particular audience that wants that. But you're not looking for those people necessarily on the streaming services, which, by the way, you're doing incredible at. I'm not sure what marketing you're doing, but you're over 500,000 streams on Spotify, I think it was.
Yeah, well over at this point. I got lucky. Like, I think once you reach a certain threshold with like the algorithm, it allows you, at least with Spotify, to join their discovery program. So that's helped. I mean, I don't know if that's helping, but I wish I were as savvy as yourself on all the platforms, but it's only so many hours in a day.
Oh, I know. And I know that you're a dad, so that definitely adds to the equation of things.
Yeah. But my girls are also artists. I've got 10-year-old twins. They're theater kids and artists, and I'm just like a proud dad.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
So you're about to walk into you're about to be a permanent Lyft driver for about 8 years.
I'm already just shuttling them back and forth. They're incredible. I don't know if you're a dad or if
I'm not.
But you could be. I mean, who knows?
It's a conversation that we're having, but it's funny that you brought it up. It's something that we're discussing. I live in West Philly, so before we even get to that, we have to move somewhere else.
Okay,
it's a little crazy out here.
I hear you. When we, my wife, when we got married, she's like, I don't want to have kids. I want to wait a few years, travel, do all that. And as soon as the ring was on her finger, she's like, we're having kids. This is it.
Immediately, right?
Immediately, right away.
She's going TikTok, and I got you, sucker.
Yeah, exactly. So I didn't really. I mean, I'm fine. I'm grateful for it. They're the coolest. They are the coolest.
I love that so much.
Yeah.
But in speaking of sets of two, you just came out with 2 brand new songs.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
And they're fabulous. Wild Love and California. And I wanted to ask you a question because I read somewhere online that it was actually about a trip that you took down to Asheville, and then in the what mountains was it?
The Blue
you went
Ridge,
camping?
The Blue. Those were the Smoky Mountains. Going camping in the Smoky Mountains. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, but getting back to my kids, my daughters last summer, they were cast in a film that was due to be shot in Chicago. And then there was a writer's strike, and we had like a 2-week window to just fill, and we're like, let's just take a road trip. So we drove to Asheville, and we drove, to Pigeon Forge, the home of Dolly Parton, and we went glamping in the Smoky Mountains, rode horses, and then we went to Nashville, and it was just like an epic adventure that, of course, as a songwriter, you're just processing things along the way. And when I got back, it just kind of turned into a song very quickly without thinking too much.
Were you writing the melody while you were on the road at all, or you were just ruminating on it, and the minute you got back, the song just kind of popped out?
I had like my Apple Notes up, and I was just like, capturing certain terms, phrases, rhymes, things like that. I wasn't overthinking it. And then once I got home and I was noodling on the guitar, it kind of fell into place, the melody, and then I was just, filling in, the lyrics to the melody, just letting them happen in a very Zen-like way. It happened so fast. But yeah, at this point, I was just taking notes. Usually, I've got this Les Paul that is just parked right next to my couch up in the living room, and I just have it in my hands all night. And I think since I was a child, like, it's always been that, like, just a guitar or a bass, and that's been my meditation. Otherwise, I'm snacking. So...
On one side, you got the Les Paul, on the other side, you got a bag of Funyuns or something.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
It's brutal.
Don't tempt me with Funyuns, Rob. They're delicious.
In fact, I was doing that last night. I was playing brushes. I have this little pizza box that I sometimes play brushes on to practice upstairs. And I had, like, the actual pizza and then the pizza box going back and forth. Oh, my gosh.
That's what we do.
That's what this is from.
Yeah, no, but that's what we do. Yeah, so I mean, I guess so. This song kind of happened. To answer your question, I was taking inspired notes and just writing down like Blue Ridge Mountains, and if there was like a moment where like I was catching wildflowers, or like, I mean, it's from a snapshot, and from in hindsight it was a really wonderful trip. But to be honest with you, when I was riding horses, there were like horse flies all over me, and it was a nightmare.
But your girls probably loved it though.
They loved it because for some reason the horseflies were just on me, and I swear there were like 100 on me as we were like going up and down this mountain. Other than the horseflies eating me, it was really a wonderful trip.
Not wearing that cologne again, huh?
No. Yeah, why do you wear cologne on a
on a horseback ride?
Horseback ride? Yeah, I wasn't.
That's amazing.
But for some reason, I'm delicious.
Good for you, man.
Thank you.
Yeah, I feel like that's a good tag.
Yeah.
But you're describing, and I'm really trying to remember the author's name. It's going to bug me. A Song a Day. Not Weezer. What the hell band is it? Hold on. 1 second. Yeah, you were describing something that I've read in this book. It's called How to Write One Song by Jeff Tweedy.
Yeah.
And he talks a lot about like writing every day, putting it somewhere, especially lyrics, like having that notes app. So you're doing exactly what he said, just like creating a bank to pull from later.
Yeah, I mean, and I mean, some artists like Joni Mitchell or Dylan, they will just have gorgeous prose. But for me, I'm just like doing a like data dump. Like I'm just like get it out. And sometimes, it has meaning, and sometimes the meaning escapes me until months later. Or till never.
Have you had that with any of your old songs you put out in 2023?
I think as we grow as people, everything means something different. I mean, certain songs are a time capsule, but when listening back to them, they mean something entirely different. Like what I've learned over the years is never try to write for somebody else, even though that's like my day job is. But aside from that, like in the songwriting world, and sure, when you work with artists or do like writing camps, I mean, I guess those are specific thing, but when I write as an artist, I'm not trying to write for anybody else. So those songs, albeit personal, thing I try to avoid is just like tropes, like basic tropes in like, especially for, I think whoever's listening to my songs, they're probably not 15-year-old girls that just want to hear about like the heartache that they're going through right now. So oftentimes my lyrics can be a bit, ambiguous or esoteric, or take on, and I find themes of, I guess, and every song is different, but I aim to just think outside the box and push myself to write something more than just about basic love that or a breakup. And if I do, there's a rule that I had years ago, and I'm sorry if I'm going on a tangent.
No, I'm interested.
But like, what would make a good song? I mean, first of all, you need a killer melody, but if you don't have that, then you have to be saying something. You have to be, like Dylan, profound, or The Dead. I mean, Robert Hunter's lyrics for Jerry Garcia are just profoundly poetic and deep. And every time you listen back to them, the lyrics aren't changing, but you, in the course of your life, are changing, and you might pick out things that might hit different. For Joni Mitchell, for that matter, cherry picking like some real monsters, and I don't mean to put myself anywhere near that. I'm just saying these are, touchstones for greatness in lyrics that grow. Would love to just reach for those stars, and if I land on the moon, great. Oh yeah, so yeah, melody, then content, and then of course rhythm and syncopation. I mean, all that kind of, if you're hip hop, I mean, Kendrick Lamar, he's saying things, he's really, melody doesn't really matter. He's saying things in a very interesting way and a powerful way. But if you can get all of those together, it's magic. So if you get melody, content, and rhythm and put it all together into the same place, I think it's a real winning formula.
Those are some really good rules to live by in terms of this business. I heard a story the other day about the song Thriller. Some guy was talking to a songwriter, and he asked the songwriter, what's more important, melody or lyrics? Mm-hmm. And she goes, I guess it's 50-50. And he goes, sing the song Thriller. Yeah. And she goes, if this is Thriller, she starts dancing, but she doesn't know the lyrics.
Yeah.
So the melody's like the most important thing. If it's not catchy, it's lost.
100%.
Right?
Yeah, 100%. Billy Joel will always back into his melody when he writes. Mm-hmm. Like he'll just mumble the syllables and whatnot and then just back into it. And I find that too. Like I don't want to shoehorn lyrics because, they're precious to me. There's something that I've learned over the years is to kill your darlings. Don't be afraid to kill them. Nobody cares anyway. Like, it's you, that's your ego that cares. Shelf it for another day. That one lyric about that feels so powerful. Or maybe it's for a different project altogether, but that's helped me. That's helped me
Well,
a
you have
lot.
so many bands. How many songs ended up on the cutting room floor?
For this, I mean, I have another album's worth. I mean, I'm hoping to release one more as an album and get this out like soon. But I mean, just for this project alone, there's 20 plus original songs for
Ooh.
this, and I haven't even brought all of them to the band because they're wildly different. Maybe some aren't appropriate, and this band has the metrics where I don't want to pivot and just do something else. Even though one could say this is a solo project in a way. I mean,
Well, you're writing all the material and you bring it to the group, and it is the group that's performing it, like with their different like backgrounds, which makes it so beautiful.
True. But if it's not, that's not necessary, is what I mean. It's like it's great that they're available to do that, but if they're not, like there's a song we have Marigolds, for example, and I did all the keyboard work, and my keyboard player is like, it sounds fine the way it is. Or same thing for Get Lost. He's like, yeah, it sounds fine the way it is. Like his ego's not getting in the way enough to say, I'm going to improve upon this, which I totally respect. And whatever. And I'm a bass player first. Like that was my first instrument I found a voice on. So my bassist currently, Freddie, like he wants to be on the records, but if he's for some reason, if it's not like clicking, I mean, I'll play the part. And only in one instance is there a hybrid of both us playing on there. But
Oh, you cut it up? Just like, I'll take the verse, we'll put you on the chorus or something like that?
He didn't know that till months later, but he didn't care. It doesn't, I mean, they're getting the credit on paper anyway for everything, like in their individual lanes. But, my point is like, if these guys decided, hey, I don't have time for this project anymore, then I could still live on and can, maybe hire you to elevate the drum parts that were there. Those guys are all session dudes. Like John, he tours the world with his bands, and he's actually in a Zeppelin tribute that tours nationally, and he's the real deal. He played on Lady Gaga's records, and he's an
Which records did he play on?
I couldn't tell you that, but I can tell you that it's on his All Music or whatever. Like, it's a nice calling card to know that he's done that. And Dave plays with Uni and the Urchins and Claypool, Lennon, Delirium, and he's my keyboard guy. And Freddie, and he was in Chester White with me, so we have a history. But he also played with Nora Jones, and I have to take care of them, and I'm grateful that I get to work with them. And
well, you've mentioned everybody except for is it Emily? That's kind of a newer addition.
they all came on board around the same time. Emily is she's a talent, absolutely, but she's also young. She's just getting her feet. It's like 21, just getting her feet. Just got a gig like in media where her availability is not what it was like 6 months ago. So again, like I'm not relying on any one person to keep this train moving. She's an incredible talent that has such a great fit with harmonies when we play live. Like it's almost like blood harmonies. I feel blessed to work with her when she's available, but her availability is harder and harder to pin down these days.
You said blood harmonies?
Yeah, like when you're like related and you can like get that Everly Brothers or the Lucan Brothers, the Leuven Brothers. Sorry, the Leuven Brothers is like the prime example of like good blood harmonies, but something in country music that you'll come across often.
Well, it's funny. I've just never heard the term before, but my father and I sing together all the time, and people say that you sing the same, and I had never heard the term for it.
Yeah.
Blood harmonies.
It's cool, right?
I'm writing that down. Hold on, because that's a great phrase I've just never heard before.
So the Leuven Brothers, Everly Brothers, they were inspired by them. Of course, the Beatles were inspired by the Everly Brothers and the Leuven Brothers in turn, and the Cowsill sisters, like all of that, like it's beautiful when it clicks. So she and I had like a real like unspoken shorthand when it came to harmonies, and you could hear it on some of the records too. She doesn't really overthink it, but some of those harmonies are great. But she is not on the latest 2 singles. She wasn't available, and I just got those out real quick. So those are all just me stacking harmonies.
Well, you did a really great job, and I was gonna say you do this all in house, right? You do all the production and all the recording at your place, and you send it out for mastering somewhere else.
Correct. Yes.
Is that your system?
Yes.
By the way, I love that so much. It's something I dream of doing. Like I'm in my little studio, rinky-dink studio in my basement, but I aspire to be somewhere where you're at, where you can just make it at home.
Yeah. No, it's I'm grateful that I have the tools to do that, and yeah, it's cool. It's nice to have a little team, and it's nice to have Joe Lambert to do the mastering for things, because he's a beast. You know, from White Stripes to Sharon Von Etten to
Well, I looked
Black
him up.
Crowes.
I know that you're a big fan of the Black Crowes, so I was wondering if
Yeah.
that was the reason you hit him up to master the record or these two.
He's mastered all of our songs that are out.
Oh, sick!
But he and I both had studios in Jersey City years ago. So that's how we met, and we started working together. And yeah, we just became friends, and we kind of have the same dog. So it's
Wait, what?
we both have these like small poodle mixes.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
cute.
Yeah.
I played a place in Jersey City. It's the Liberty House.
Okay. Yeah, I know the Liberty House. That's like a wedding venue, right?
Yeah,
Almost.
well, yeah. I was working with an agency, and I was playing the bar in the middle.
Mhm.
And that, like you said, they do a lot of weddings. So there are like 3 to 4 like rooms where they're doing receptions. So at any time I could be playing a song and there's 4 different tempos going off on at once around me. It was a nightmare. And I'm like playing Joni Mitchell, like this is not working.
No, the views are great though. You can't
Oh, it's
beat
gorgeous.
the views.
Do you still live in Jersey City?
Don't, but I still have. I don't. I moved to the burbs right like as the pandemic was hitting, like right before the pandemic, and built out this studio you see here in the house. So prior to that, my main studio was in Jersey City, which was a 2-room suite with like 2 production rooms and stuff. But once COVID hit, everything changed, and clients weren't coming to the studio anymore. And I also had a podcast studio in Chelsea. Nobody was going to that. And so this made sense to just be like headquarters, which actually improved my life in a lot of different ways, because before I was commuting like 4 hours a day. Now I get to see my kids,
It's amazing.
which is cool.
What a blessing that whole bit was. Like, you got to the suburbs before COVID hit.
Yep.
And then now you don't have to travel for work at all. You just literally roll in 2 minutes before, start work, and then when you're done, you're done. You're home.
Yeah. I mean, I got to shuck and jive. I'm in the city a couple of times a week. And actually, I did a gig in 118 North in Wayne, great room, a couple of weeks ago. And they put us on this bill with these honky tonk country artists, which was a blast.
Who was it?
It was Alice Bullard and Rob Lines.
That's so fun. I don't know those guys, but I'm at 118 a lot. In fact, I did my record release there about a week and a half ago. No, 2
Oh,
weeks
really?
ago.
Congrats.
Yeah.
I saw that you have vinyl for your record release, so
In fact, I shot a little video for it, and I have it right here. A little bit.
beautiful. Did you get it pressed?
A Studio 4 vinyl, which is associated with like Phil Niccolo, who is a really great engineer and producer based out of Conshohocken. But they have a vinyl plant. I can't remember the town off the top of my head, but they're moving, and they have a really good set of folks up there. A buddy of mine, Rich, is kind of in charge of the whole thing, and I got 250 of them printed and sold a bunch. Really happy with how everything turned out. They're great people, and they were with me every step of the way. I wanted to ask you about the music video for Wild Love. I'm guessing you shot it all yourself and did all the cutting yourself, the editing?
I did all the cutting and editing and, effects and,
I do love the effect you put on it to give it that like a summertime traveling vibe.
Yeah.
You did a really nice job with that.
Oh, thanks. But I'll be honest with you, it's all found footage that I licensed. I wish I could take credit for like having a big sweeping like shoot for this video, but I'm scrappy and know that it needs a presence on YouTube. So for a lyric video, I just, it's a labor of love to kind of dive into Final Cut, or most case people are like Premiere, but Final Cut's my weapon of choice. And
Well, same. You buy it once and you're done. It's not like your
Yeah.
Pro Tools where you have to pay $30 a month now every month.
yeah,
You buy it once and call it a day. But I'm the same. I need to dive into the lyric video side of things. But even the shot with the 2 girls is found footage?
Yes.
Or
Yeah.
licensed footage?
everything is. But, of course, I play with the time, I play with the ratio, and I play with like the zooming effects. And again, nobody probably cares, but I try to help service the story of the song as best I can. It took a minute to source everything so it looked like it was a singular thought from front to back. But I'm into that challenge, and I'm try to get it done as quickly as possible. I think I probably produced the video in just like 2 or 3 days.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to say, I don't know if you've seen any changes in metrics, but I've been told that the minute you put up a video that coincides with like the song on YouTube Music, it automatically gives it a bump because like you've given them more content. Did you notice that?
I don't know. The only metric that I'm obsessive about is like the Spotify for artist stuff.
Mm-hmm.
They say, or I've heard, is like, if you want to improve in anything, I think this was Tim Ferriss. He's like, pick one metric and just try to improve it every week.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why my one metric. Otherwise, I think I'd lose my mind if I was trying to keep up with
Oh, yeah, it's
everything.
too much. Unless you have somebody that's like in charge of it,
Yeah.
like handling every one of those social medias and then all the streaming services and on top of everything else is like, forget it.
Yeah.
I got kids. You don't got time for this.
No, but I could tell you like the Apple metrics that I get. I hit some milestones this past week with like Shazams and things like that, which I find is great.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, because I'm not really putting any energy into Apple, so that's
I
whereas
mean, they make it so hard to do so, right? At least with Spotify, I can be like, okay, here are the numbers. Here's where they are. What can I do more? They tell you, okay, great, I'll do those.
Yeah.
And Apple really doesn't do anything. It's a write-off for them.
Yeah, and with Spotify also, like you can opt into like a marquee release where you give them a few $100 and they will make it like a you may like this, like a banner on somebody's app just by their listening preferences, which I think helps. Maybe it's not the best use of money, but I've seen it help. Like campaigns go so fast, like the next day it's over and I'll see, oh, you've gained X amount of followers, or you've had this many streams. This is the conversion rate. But those are the metrics that I'll obsess about. I can't handle anything else.
No, it's way too much. Even that is like way too much, but
Yeah.
I digress. I'm the same way though. Like when I first released my first song, I was looking at Spotify for artists every other day. Like, did it update? No. Did it update? No. And it almost became a problem.
Yep.
But now I know for me, my record's out. You have a couple more tunes to go. So you're probably going, okay, how can I trigger it? How can I trigger it? I know that you're heavily involved, or not heavily involved. I know that you're involved in the film industry and that sort, like being a music supervisor and also a executive producer.
Yeah.
You've done a few things.
I'm a composer. I'm a producer. I've done music supervision. Yeah. All
You
of
even
it.
worked with 2 Olympians and their what do you call it? Their documentaries.
I'm actually going to the premiere of that in November. The premiere at the Doc NYC Fest in New York. It's premiered in a couple other festivals, but
You gotta be so excited.
I'm excited because I got to take the kids. They've
Yeah.
never been to a premiere, but I've done films that premiered at Sundance, and I have another film that's premiering at Austin Film Festival at the end of the month, which I wish I could go to, but not in the
That's
cards.
amazing though.
I am so grateful for the business that I'm in and that I get to meet people like yourself, and like hopefully you'll give me your tunes or give me access to your tunes so I can pitch them if the appropriate gig comes up. You never know. It's nice to have friends. I think what set me apart as a composer, like getting into this business as a recording artist, and then even though I went to a music school for composition, it just all kind of fell into place. But I tend to rather work with artists rather than commercial composers, because oftentimes commercial composers traditionally have just tried to be fast and like stock music you would hear, like just let me throw some things together, path of least resistance. I prefer things with a little more soul, even if it's branded. Like I don't care. I'd rather put some soul into the work that comes out of my shop rather than phone it in.
1000%. And I know that a lot of Nashville songwriters are saying the same thing. It's like you show up every day and it just gets old writing tunes and it loses the thing. Same with, I'm sure, commercial composing.
Yeah, I mean, what's cool about it is just like a writing camp, everything, you get parameters, and also you have a timeline for your deliverables. So those things bring out the best, I think, in us creatively. I'm in a songwriting club, which I think you would be great at.
I would love to do that.
In fact, that song California came out of this songwriting club, and every month we have to write a song on a specific topic, and every topic is like a round robin for the members of the group. Like you just choose it randomly. And I think that particular challenge for the song California, the latest single, was broken. That was the only prompt, was broken. I added it to one of the lyrics, and you're not tied to like do anything. Like right now, the task is to use a particular date in the songwriting process. And my point, sorry to get off track, is that limitations and parameters bring out the best in us, and they make for more interesting writing, because our minds as creatives can go wild. Sometimes we're not anchored enough into our process to see it through, unless we have that deadline. Like, so for commercial composing, or for film, so for commercial composing, because it's such an efficient production chain, you maybe have a day, maybe you have a few days to deliver like 8 pieces of music that are scored to picture in different styles, are helping that story. Maybe not 8. 8 is kind of like a sweet spot for me, for like delivering things. But even if it were one track, having like guardrails helps you really bring your A game.
Yeah, I had a professor in school that said the same thing. And it's like, don't try to play the world. Pick one thing.
I had a teacher tell me that also. That's so funny. He said, don't be like me. Don't be a jack of all trades. Be a master of one.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't really follow that advice, because I feel like being a master of a few things, going by Malcolm Gladwell's, rule of 10,000 hours, I've mastered a few things, it's helped me as a composer and a producer. Whereas if I were to just focus on playing guitar, sure, maybe I'd be a wizard. I can get around well enough on the guitar that I can do everything that my mind and heart are trying to say. So what else do you need?
In fact, Springsteen, I know you live in Jersey. Are you a Springsteen fan or not really?
I am. I mean,
okay.
I'm not like...
Not an avid follower.
Yeah, he's not in my top 5. I'll say that.
That's fine. But the one thing he did say that when he was making Born to Run, because I'm a massive Springsteen fan, he said that I had an option of, going full bore on the guitar or full bore into the songwriting. And I just went to songwriting, because if you listen to some of those early Springsteen records, he's playing some great stuff. Yeah. Now he's like one of the best songwriters of the past 100 years.
Yeah, I know, without a doubt. He's a wonderful songwriter. And that's what people... I mean, sure, I love a guitar player is lyrical enough to hit me, that it clicks. But again, just like writing, like it's easy to fall into tropes as a player.
Oh yeah,
that's what I find so beautiful about Jerry Garcia, is that he wasn't afraid to explore the neck live and just find new places to go. I mean, that sense of fearlessness is something I try to incorporate in our live show. I think all of us do. Like, there's a bit of jazz backgrounds in everybody, or a bit of jam band stuff, much to my keyboard player's chagrin, who he gets all that stuff. But he's also very progressive, so he's got that mindset of like prog rock in his hands. I think it's a neat group of musicians for the live show. But there's something about knowing where that jam's going to take you that is a beautiful thing, even for the audience, like the band, the audience. It's a place where everyone can be together, and if you can have that bookended by a great story or a great song, I mean, that's a great, for me, that's a winning combination.
Absolutely. And you guys definitely have the songs coming. I was going to ask, do you find that the commercial writing kind of blends into the songwriting style of your stuff, in the sense of like you're able to produce it faster or make it quicker? Although it still has meaning to it. I'm just asking, are you more efficient these days with your songwriting because of your job?
It's a good question. Not for this band. If I were tasked with writing a song for, like, let's say you're a filmmaker and you wanted something like something for your titles that needed to be very specific, and you needed it in 2 days, 100%. Like, I would do that. I would get that done. In that regard, yes. If I have the time, if I have the parameters for the gig, I will get it done. I would cast a wide net also. I would reach out to artists in my network and get them into the gig too, because best idea wins. It doesn't have to be mine.
I love that so much. Yeah, I love best idea wins. It's simple. It says exactly what it is. Yeah. And the job gets done faster and more loving, too.
Yeah.
Like, that's way better than what I had. Fine, let's do that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, totally. And
that's beautiful. Same thing with jam too, because like if you're jamming with somebody and somebody plays an idea, it's like, and then everybody follows, best idea wins.
Yeah.
Same thing. As long as you're all listening to each other and it goes somewhere.
Yeah, I've said that 1,000 times. Is like, how can I make the guy next to me sound better? Like, what can I play to make them sound better? So much of playing live is listening. When you're just coming up, like you are still learning your instrument. You're wrestling with your ego. You're very rare that you can be the kind of player that can take it in and let jam breathe and pick up on those cues from other players. It's a very mature, I think, sensibility. But
well, I was going to say, I think the fact that you were a bass player first actually helps you in that regard.
yes, I agree. Yeah.
'Cause I find that guitar players that have only been guitar players, like lead players, and they don't know how to be a foundation, they can be all, showboaty, but the minute they're like a rhythm guitar, it's over. They don't know what to do.
It's funny you bring that up, because even in like any composition I'm doing, if it has drums, like that's where it starts. If your drums suck, everything's going to suck. And I am such a geek when it comes to getting drum sounds right. When you hear John play, I mean, you picked up on the bottom thing, but the way I try to use a Glyn Johns method for recording him, maybe 3-4 mics. He tunes his kit like a wizard, but the way I'm compressing it, the gear that I've got, for the most part, I'm running him through these Chandler EMI preamps, which are what you had at Abbey Road, basically. And then I'm going through an SSL, like stereo bus compressor. Then of course I'm cleaning things up as I see fit, like in the box, like once it's there.
Is the SSL in the box, or you actually have the compressor?
Yeah, I've got an outboard stuff here. In the box, I'm also like, I'm not afraid to play around with all my plugins and stuff. But I want it to sound like, I want it to sound authentic, because his playing is so authentic. His pocket is. But when I'm building drums from the ground up too, like also the samples that I'm using I've built these things up over years, and like these are things that I've recorded, things that I've picked up, things that I've shared with friends, or things that I'm grabbing like anywhere, even like with the video, like how can I service the song? How can I best tell the story? Drums are so important. That's that foundation. Like if you start playing to that, recording to it, everything's going to be tight than doing it the other way around. So
no, I agree. Even if it's just like a drummer in the box, or what's the other program called? Addictive Drums.
Yeah.
Like even just that will make a recording sound 1,000 times better, and then you get your drummer to overdub and call it a day.
Exactly. That's basically how I do it. I'll map things out basically with the guitar and the drums, and then have the players come in and elevate it.
Well, I find that super inspiring. It's exactly what I'm hoping to do in the next few years, and be able to record from my place. So I'm super excited for you. You said you have one more in the tank.
I mean, I have a bunch in the tank. I just don't know which one to release next. It could just be a solo acoustic thing. Oh, I've got this piece that's acoustic with a banjo, also from the Songwriting Club, where we had to write about a historical figure, and I chose Edgar Cayce because he was a mystic from like the 20s. I just always found his story fascinating, because he was called the sleeping prophet. He would go into this like trance, and he would predict all sorts of shit, like where Atlantis was, and what's your ailment and how to heal you, and he would like channel his greater self in some strange ways. And he was also a devout Christian, and the church thought he was a heretic. So I just got this great story out that was just right there in front of me, and that might be
it practically writes itself.
Yeah. So the way it came together, it feels like very like Tyler Childers. Are you familiar with him? So it's got that kind of certain like rawness to it that I really like, and I will be playing it, doing a solo thing at 118 North on November 16th. So if you're free, I think I'm there solo.
If I'm not playing, I'll come bother you.
Yeah, or bring a drum. Let's just see what happens.
Okay, fair enough. And then you're also playing the R Bar out in Asbury, right?
That's right. Yeah, that's on the 8th of November. That's going to be full out electric situation, which it'll be a fun night. Buddy Chef Chris is doing a kitchen takeover, so it's going to be just like a party of a bunch of weirdos, creatives, chefs, musicians, and artists, and
that's going to be so much fun.
Yeah, I am excited for that.
Good for you, man. Where can people find your stuff?
Mirrorsonthemoon.com will get you anywhere, but Mirrors on the Moon, at Mirrors on the Moon on Instagram or Facebook. All the official handles are Mirrors on the Moon.
That's beautiful. Well, thank you so much for hopping on Let's Take a Spin, man. I really appreciate it.
No, thank you. And one last thing, you did a podcast where it was like songs you might not know,
Mm-hmm.
and I loved that. And you had Jeff Buckley in there.
Oh, yeah, I had never heard of that particular tune. My friend recommended it. I was like, what is this? It's beautiful.
Oh, so
I
great.
can't remember the name of it. It's like the last track off that record.
I got to see Jeff Buckley live once.
Oh, yeah? What was that like?
Well, my friends and I, we were sneaking into the wetlands, which was in lower Manhattan. We were like 15, driving into the city without licenses. And we were going there because every Tuesday was like a Grateful Dead night, and it was free. But in this case, it was a $12 cover, which at the time was outrageous. But we're like, hey, we drove all the way here from the suburbs. Let's go. And it was Jeff Buckley. And we were just floored because he was just, nobody could, we've never heard anybody sing quite like that. It was, and like I said, I come from this world of Led Zeppelin. To hear somebody with that kind of range and intensity and just the interesting songwriting and the wild guitar playing, it was just really just kind of a magical thing. So from then it was very inspiring. So I was glad to see that on your, in your podcast.
Oh, I love that. Those episodes were a lot of fun to make, especially like stuff that I had never heard of, and just being able to share it at the time was really nice. But yeah, I hope that they bring back that function so I can do a playlist Friday or something stupid, and just have people submit stuff. But thank you so much for hopping on, guys. Make sure to go out to his gig at 118 North and the R Bar. And Donnie, I really appreciate you hopping on.
Yeah, thank you, Rob.
See you soon.
Yeah, this was fun.